Hi, welcome to Super Awesome Film Club, episode 36. Tonight we will be talking about Ken Russell's Lair of the White Worm. I am your host, Adelaide Blair, and we have our usual Ken Russell panel tonight. We have film critic Ben Nason. Hi, Ben.
Hey.
And our movie philosopher, Blair-Freese. Hi, Io.
What's up?
Not much. Okay. So let's get to the topic at hand. Lair of the White Worm, directed by Ken Russell, 1988. It stars Amanda Donohoe as Lady Sylvia Marsh, Hugh Grant as Lord James Dampton, Catherine Oxenberg as Eve Trent, Peter Capaldi as Angus Flint, and Sammy Davis as Mary Trent. It's a weird-ass movie. Basically, there's a small town in England, Derbyshire, I think. I never know how to say English place names because they squinch everything together. Anyway, there is a family of sisters, Eve Trent and Mary Trent, and they run an inn, and their parents disappeared a year ago. They are friends with Lord James Dampton, who is the Lord of the Manor, and one of his ancestors killed a giant snake called the Dampton Worm. They are friends with him, and there's the big celebration for the Dampton Worm. They have a tenant, Peter Capaldi, who is an archaeologist who has discovered a very strange, large skull, which turns out it is indeed the skull to the Dampton Worm. And we know this because Lady Sylvia Marsh has taken residence up into town and has stolen the giant snake head, and she has stolen it because she is the immortal priestess of the ancient snake god Dionin. And turns out that there's this a nunnery that was built on an ancient snake god grounds, and there's clashes between pagans and Christians. Anywho, so that's in the past. She steals the snake head, and she's also kind of like some kind of snaky vampire sort of thing, too. And then it turns out that she may or may not have kidnapped the parents, she did definitely kidnap the parents of Eve and Mary, and they find the father's watch, so they go looking for it, and she kills a Boy Scout type guy, and it's really hard to explain this movie. Like, I thought about it, and it's got a crazy plot. And then there's like flashbacks to these Romans raping the nuns, and then the snake and the Christ and the cross, and in the end, they defeat Lady Sylvia's plans to sacrifice Eve Trent to the ancient snake god Dionin, who has been living under these rocks for a long time. But then I think everybody turns into a snake vampire. I'm just going to say up front that I love this movie, even though I had trouble telling you the plot. I've seen it a number of times, but it's just weird. And I know that not everyone on our panel shares my opinion of this movie. So we're going to start with Miss Io Blair-Freese. Io, tell us what you thought of this movie.
So I can start off with what I think is the best part of this movie. I think the best part of this movie is some really interesting religious symbolism. So it's all about the snake god, and it's like, straight out of the Garden of Good and Evil. The snake that tempted Eve, and there's a character named Eve, and she's supposed to be kind of this virginal character, and being enticed by this snake priestess, and there's a lot of really interesting Christian mythology going on in kind of the backbone of it, and because of the whole tempting of Eve and stuff, you see a lot of like female sexuality. However, I think the worst part of this movie is that it's just incredibly exploitative and the backbone of this movie is the symbolism, but it's played out through like sexually violent acid flashbacks to the past, which I just found it really ineffective. I found it kind of offensive at times. I thought that the Romans raping the nut, I didn't see really any sensible reason to put in so much sexual violence, because it wasn't really telling me personally a story about, whatever, I don't know, Ken Russell or Bram Stoker or whoever it was that put that idea into the movie.
I have not read the Bram Stoker, I think it's a novella, but I'm going to guess that Ken Russell's version is very loosely based on it.
And I would assume so as well, because I don't even know how you would write most of this crap down. But I mean, I thought it was a crap movie. I didn't like the way that they played out all of the flashback elements, the historical elements. I didn't like the dialogue. I didn't like the acting at all. Although I have a lot more respect for Hugh Grant now that I know that he did this movie, which, I have less respect for Ken Russell and more respect for Hugh Grant after watching this, which may or may not be a good thing, I don't know.
Well, Peter Capaldi is the new Doctor Who.
Yes, and Peter Capaldi, I think that he's, the best actor in that movie, which is kind of weird to say.
Well, Catherine Oxenberg, her next movie is going to be Sharktopus versus Mermantula.
So I looked her up, and she has the worst IMDb rap sheet. She's been in all kinds of shitty movies, like Star Troopers 3 or Super Troopers or what some
I think she was in the video game.
Ugh, whatever. And she's apparently, I don't know, Yugoslavian royalty or something. That's how you get a job in Hollywood, I guess. Being bad at acting and somebody.
I think she's cute.
Famous.
Okay, are you done?
I'm done.
Professor Grumpy Pants. Okay, Ben, what did you think of this movie?
Well, I can't say that this is a good movie, but I enjoyed it. It was, I think I enjoyed it. Okay, so aside from the sexual violence stuff, I enjoyed it for the opposite reasons that Io did not like it. I liked the exploitative parts about it, and I thought that the symbolism, the religious symbolism especially, and all that, the religious aspect of it, for this movie was really, that to me felt tacked on after the fact. It felt like he had this other story, that was probably more closer to what the Bram Stoker's version was, where you got the white worm or the dragon or whatever it is that you want to call it, and it's you got that pulp story. It almost even feels like a Hammer movie at moments, right? Especially with the Hugh Grant character, because he's kind of this almost like a swashbuckling debonair, except that he's so British and debonair that he rises above ever being swashbuckling, right? He's so, I don't know, up there that he even has a team of people bring in, what was it, gas, in order to gas the white worm out of its hole in this cavern. And that seems like a pretty studious thing, to do, to have all these people kind of hauling that equipment up there into this cave. But I really, I don't know, I was mixed with this movie. It surprised me at times. I'd never seen it before. And so there's moments where I was like, oh, this is a Ken Russell movie. It's really well made. There's some beautiful shots, some great, atmosphere. The music's really good at moments. I think that I like Hugh Grant and Peter Capaldi both in this movie. But then you get that crossover, especially the amazing flashback sequences, which I can't tell if they were shot in video or not, and maybe one of you knows if they were, but they looked like they were shot in video. Those were awesome. I just I don't know, these surges to the mind. It was kind of amazing to see that. And then you get scenes where Lady, what was her name? I'm sorry.
Lady Sylvia?
In fact, I have it right here. Yeah, Lady Sylvia. So, I mean, I'm trying to think of the right words for the scene with which she dances across the room because she's being called by,
Snake Charmer.
The siren song. Yeah, the Snake Charmer song, exactly. That there's just like it doesn't matter what else you've seen before or after, because watching her do that just it takes it all away. You're pulled out of the moment of the movie, of whatever this movie is supposed to be about, and now suddenly we're watching this woman dance across this room. And I'm not even sure dancing is the appropriate word, but for lack of a better one. But yeah, what a weird movie. But I enjoyed it. It was a very strange, trashy little film.
So, so I really love this movie, and I saw it when it first came out in the movie theater, and it was my second Ken Russell movie that I had ever seen. The first being Gothic. He had a deal with Vestron, like a 4-picture deal, and he wanted to do a D.H. Lawrence film. So they were like, if he did another horror film, they would let him make the picture he wanted. And Gothic is a much more serious. It's about the night that Frankenstein was wrote by Mary Shelley, and has Lord Byron and all that kind of stuff. And this film is sort of his homage to Oscar Wilde. He quotes Wilde in it with everybody's favorite line from The Earnest. Oh God, now I can't remember the name of it. The Importance of Being Earnest, which is a play that I love. But he brings out the "to lose one parent is tragic, to lose both parents is careless" line, which I just have always thought was hilarious. And so a lot of the humor in this is very Wildean, and sort of it. I think it might help to be a Wilde fan to enjoy it, and Russell certainly was.
And I certainly am not.
and I love Wilde, and so a lot of the humor to me was that. I love the great 80s hair. Peter Capaldi and Hugh Grant's hair in this was pretty astounding, and I think deserve credits of their own. It goes back to being, that hallucinogenic religious imagery that Russell is so fond of. I know that Io did not view the sexuality in this to be pertinent to the religious narrative, but I actually found it exploitative and pertinent. When you go back to,
it's been done better. It's not that I didn't think it was pertinent. I think the whole enticing of Eve and all that great symbolism and stuff should have been played out just better.
Okay, I can accept that. I mean, I'm not going to say this is a great film. It is a film that I love and a film that I like, and one that even my husband is not a movie dude, and he likes this movie, but he thinks Ken Russell is nuts, and I think he's right. I like how in the war between the pagan religion and Christianity, nobody wins, because they destroy her, but then they're all bitten, so they're all vampire snake people. I think even the women are vampire snake people, because Sammy Davis's character, Mary Trent, she gets bitten earlier, and they suck out the venom, but I think she's infected. And then the Eve character, she gets injected. Peter Capaldi injects her with the venom because he thinks it's the cure. So I think they're all now snake people. I like how this movie is just part of what's wrong with it is also what's really, really right with it, which is the fact that it is not one thing or the other. Like, is this supposed to be a comedy? Because it's got some seriously disturbing imagery in it. Like, those flashback scenes are pretty brutal. And so it's not one thing or the other when it's trying to be all these things. And it doesn't work. But I still really, really like it. And, because it is a Ken Russell film. I mean, some of the shots are gorgeous. Like, the shots inside the cave are so beautiful. Like, that's just, amazing landscape shots.
There's that great one when he gets the cave split in two, where you got the entrance, or where it goes deeper inside is on the right, and then the exit, or entrance, however you want to look at it, of the cave is on the left. And he gets a great perspective shot by having the camera all the way back to see both sides.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous film in parts. And then one of the things I wanted to bring up was the musical cues in this are really crazy. Yeah. So, especially at the beginning of the film, they'll like show something, and then the music will go, bah! Like you're supposed to pay attention. That's a thing, and it's just like it's not subtle. It's like it's just really right in your face as far as like when he wants you to notice something. Like, and it's always a snake thing. Whenever because there's a lot of like snake references, and whenever there's a snake reference, it's pay attention. Which it's just it's funny. Like I mean I would laugh out loud every time he did one of those musical cues because I was like, would you like us to pay attention, Ken? But no, I mean I get that it's not a good movie, but I just remember being, let's see, 1988, I would have been 20. It was before I left Ashland for Washington, before I was pregnant with Io. And I went and saw the movie with my friend Scott, and it was like, what the hell is this movie? I'd seen one other Ken Russell movie, and I don't even think I knew they were by the same guy. Because I don't know, back then I wasn't really paying attention to directors. I was just going to see every movie at the art movie house theater where I live. So I mean, this is a pretty astounding movie to me at the time, and I've never quite lost my affection for it. And I think now that I know more about Ken Russell, I actually like it even more than I used to. And I just wanted to get your opinion, Miss Io, about the character of Lady Sylvia is kind of horrible, but I think it's really interesting that he does it as a female character, and I'm not sure whether I approve or don't approve because, she's the snake leading people into sin, but also, like, why shouldn't the bad character be a lady? What did you think about, like, because if it would have been a man character, it wouldn't have been really, really creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it would have been much creepier had it been a male character. And I also, like, I think that it does feel more religious having it be a female character. Like, all of the religious elements, like all of the story elements focus on the men. So there's the male who finds the snake head, and there's the man who's supposed to slay the dragon / worm / snake. But Eve is the female, and she's virginal, and the snake priestess is a woman, and exemplifies the sin. So you have both the sin and whatever the opposite of sin, virginity, I guess in this case, both played out by the women characters. And I think it's interesting. Like I think it's interesting to have that woman-to-woman dynamic. And I don't think that I think that the movie would be far worse if he didn't. So I'm just glad that he did.
So I just one thing I want to put out there before we go. Lady Sylvia's wardrobe is freaking amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I would never wear anything in her wardrobe. But
no, but just to watch her is a pleasure. Just to see what she's wearing is like, to me, she's one of the best dressed characters ever in movie history. Just putting that out there. Okay, Ben, do you have any last things to say about the movie?
No, I think we pretty much covered what there is to cover. Though I gotta say, I enjoyed Hugh Grant in this movie. I think he's a charismatic individual, and he's never an actor I've really enjoyed that much, but in the right roles, I've liked him, and he was very entertaining in this movie.
Yeah, and I think I think this is a film that he does not really talk about much. No idea why. But if you like Ken Russell, or even if you don't, if you like camp, or Oscar Wilde, or very large snake phalluses, this is the movie for you.
Yeah.
So give it a try. Okay, well, Io and I will be back in 2 weeks, and we will start off a little mini-series on mother-daughter related films. We're going to start off with Mildred Pierce, and because in case you haven't figured out, we are in fact related. I am the mother, she is the daughter. So come back for that. Okay, thank you, everybody. Watch the skies.
Bye.
Bye.